So now we'll be discussing on energy resources. So it is a very funny quotation that my father rode a camel, I drove the car, my son flies a jet plane, and his son will ride a camel. What do you mean by this? Yes, an Arab saying. So why it is so? Right, Kirti. So very rightly said by Kirti. You know, so the life of Arab people were nomadic. So they used to, it was desert area, and they used to depend on camel for their transportation from moving from one place to other. So gradually, by the time they explored the oil field over there, and they became rich, affluent, and they could uh, technologically developed, cities come up, and now they started driving car and planes. But gradually the natural resources, or the fuel, or the petro products, that will come to an end. So that's why they are anticipating that their future generation may have to again go back to the traditional civilization, means the way they were using the transportation, camel. Okay. So what we will discuss here: what are the major energy needs, what are our primary sources of renewable and non-renewable energy, what are the problems with regards to use of fossil fuel as well as renewable sources, what is the way out of energy crisis. So global energy crisis, different group have different perception on questions of energy crisis. 1.2 billion people worldwide lack access to electricity. 2.8 billion people rely on wood, coal, charcoal, animal waste, and all this source, which has a greater impact on greenhouse gas. So in industrialized countries, the energy problem is of wastage and pollution, not shortage. But if you look at countries like India, the shortage or increasing price of fuel wood in the village could be a crisis. So energy crisis is based on different context. So if you look at European countries or developed countries, so the problem is of wastage and pollution, not shortage. But if you look at India, then you will find that the shortage or increase of the price is the crisis. So in many places now the summer is just started. So now you'll find a lot of power cut in many cities. So there's the energy crisis. And what are the source of energy? We cannot create new energy, that's for sure. We can only use the energy that was created when the universe formed approximately 14 billion years ago. So as it is, we know that it is non-renewable natural resources. Energy we cannot create the source of energy, neither it can happen in a short time period. Just give me 10 seconds. Are you all back to the university or you are at your respective places?
Our places.
Okay, you are at your hometown. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, how is summer over there? Is it already arrived or?
Yes, sir. It's hot here.
Yes, sir.
So it is the solar energy that gets stored in plants as biomass. Plants use the energy for photosynthesis, and that photosynthesis produce food. Primary energy is an energy form found in nature that has not been subjected to any conversion or transformation process. What are the main source of primary energy? Sun, wind, water, fossil fuel, biomass, geothermal energy, radioactive, all these are energy source. So sometimes we use primary source directly. For example, we can burn wood or heat water by keeping it under the sun. Sometimes we need a lot of processing and before we use. So crude oil convert to petrol, solar energy to electricity, water energy to hydropower. So that needs processing. So there are two types of energy, that is one renewable and other is non-renewable. So already we know that what is renewable energy, what is non-renewable energy. So nuclear energy is also a non-renewable energy since it requires material like radioactive isotopes, uranium, thorium, plutonium, and all this are limited amount of these materials are there in the earth crust. So though it will take a lot of time to be consumed, but still we consider it as a source of non-renewable energy, non-renewable source. So now we can see biomass. Biomass can be either renewable or non-renewable. So when biomass can be renewable and when it can be non-renewable, can anybody say? Yes. So we have already discussed that if it can be replenished, then it is renewable. If cannot be replenished, then non-renewable. So you have to see, since people used to cut only dead trees and branches for burning, and now the rate at which people cut down trees for fuel is much faster than their natural rate of regeneration. So as we are consuming faster, so then we can say that it is non-renewable source of energy. If we are taking less and we are regenerating more, then we can say it is a renewable source of energy. So the primarily the world's energy comes from fossil fuel like oil, coal, natural gases. So you can see the percentage, the highest contributor is oil, then coal, then natural gas, and very less is from nuclear and biomass, and only 2.5% is from solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and all forms of renewable energies. So what are the major energy needs? Energy need as for industrial sector, transportation sector, and residential and commercial sector. So there are some losses in electricity generation at the time of generation, and huge losses happens at the time of transmission and distribution of the electricity. So you can look at the global consumption pattern of energy. Industrial 28%, transportation 28%, residential and commercial and others is 34%. It is as per 2012 report. So look at this map. So per capita consumption of energy for transportation shows stark difference among the countries. For every 100 units of energy consumed by US citizen for transportation, a Danish citizen uses 45%, a Japanese 30 units, and an Indian just 2 units in comparison to US citizens spend almost 50 times that of an Indian person consumes. So 76% of Americans go to work by driving alone in a car, while just 5% use public transportation. That is why you can see that energy consumption per citizen is quite high. Is it clear to all of you, or any doubt? Are you all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there are different processes. So energy production. So it takes energy to produce energy, because to run the machineries, to explore the different natural resources, so we need external energy. For example, we transform crude oil into petrol and make it available at the petrol station. So exploring, drilling, extracting, refining, transportation, and also on uses energy often derived from oneself. So, as per second law of thermodynamics, some energy is lost at every step. At the field of exploring, drilling, extraction, refining, transportation, there will be loss of energy. So net energy yield, the usable amount of high quality energy that we get from an energy source. So let's say production unit is 100, but at the time, by the time it reaches your home, it is 30%. So that is the net energy yield. So the net energy yield is different from different energy sources. For example, the yield is medium to high for coal, medium for conventional oil, and low for nuclear power. So why the fossil fuels are non-renewable? So it generally takes a very long period, means 200 to 500 million years to be produced. What is conventional and what is unconventional oil? Do you sometimes read the book? Conventional oil is a category of oil that includes crude oil and natural gas liquids, and unconventional oil consists of wider variety of liquids such as including oil, sand and shale. In general, conventional oil is easier and cheaper to extract. So we can say unconventional oil is a oil, but it takes a lot of effort, energy and resources for the extraction. So the cost of production is quite high. So it is shale oil, tar and sand. So I'll just touch the important points. You just read all these things: oil rich bitumen, Canada and Venezuela. What are the examples? You just read it from the book. So the environmental cost of oil. What are the environmental costs? The environmental costs are air pollution, damage to ecosystem, then ocean, coastal zone and marine life get affected due to oil spills, and the ballast water from the oil tanker has carried deadly organisms and toxic substances to far off land. So do you understand the seriousness? The amount of coal reserved will be existed in 200 years. So there are, however, many problems with the coal use. So the important thing is the conversion of solar energy into electricity. So though we understand solar energy is non-polluting and inexhaustible form of energy, but it comes from the thermonuclear fusion reaction constantly taking place in the sun. So if somebody asks you whether solar energy is it a clean source of energy, what will be your answer?
Yes.
Yes. Is it a clean source of energy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But have you, okay, Kirti. So have you ever thought that what happens to the waste that is generated because of the production of batteries, solar panels, and other ancillary things? So it may looks like means clean source of energy, but if we look at the backward integration, we'll find that there are also challenges. Everybody will turn to solar energy. So of course, after 15-20 years, those cells will be rejected, or 25 years. So what next? Whether they will be dumped somewhere, they will be added as. Do you understand? So what is photovoltaic cell and other things? It is already there. So solar power is available alternative in remote areas where power lines cannot be taken due to cost or difficulties of access. And you will be surprised to know that if there is a unaccessible area in distant place, if you take a grid, the electric connection over there, it will even take more price in comparison to a solar installation. So photovoltaic cells are also being used in watch, pocket calculation, toys. So Ladakh example has been given. Then solar PV installed in desert as the Mojave Desert in US. So I'll show you a small video. Do you want to watch it or will continue with lecture?
Sir, want to watch.
Okay. It is on how people from village with the leadership of a person, how solar mission is being accomplished and how people over there are working on that. So let me show you this. Is it visible to you? Can you hear it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes? You want to say something? Any one of you are saying something? Can you both see and hear this? Hear it clearly? Means
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay.
I'd like to take you to another world, and I'd like to share a 45-year-old love story with the poor living on less than $1 a day. I went to a very elitist, snobbish, expensive education in India, and that almost destroyed me. I was all set to be a diplomat, teacher, doctor, all laid out. I don't look it, but I was the Indian national squash champion for 3 years. The whole world was laid out for me. Everything was on my feet. Could do nothing wrong. And then I thought, out of curiosity, I'd like to go and live and work, and just see what a village is like. So in 1965, I went to what is called the worst Bihar famine in India, and I saw starvation, death, people dying of hunger for the first time. Changed my life. Came back home, told my mother, I like to live and work in a village. Mother went into a coma. What is this? The whole world is laid out for you, the best jobs are laying out for you, and you want to go and work in a village? I mean, is there something wrong with you? I said, no, I've got the best education. It made me think. and I wanted to give something back in my own way. What do you want to do in a village? No job, no money, no security, no prospect. I said, I want to live and dig wells for 5 years. Dig wells for 5 years? You went to the most expensive school and college in India and you want to dig wells for 5 years? She didn't speak to me for a very long time because she thought I'd let my family down. But then I was exposed to the most extraordinary knowledge and skills that very poor people have, which is never brought into mainstream, which is never identified, respected, applied on a large scale. And I thought I'd start a barefoot college only for the poor. What the poor thought was important would be reflected in the college. Went to this village for the first time. Elders came to me and said, are you running from the police? I said, no. You failed in your exam? I said, no. You didn't get a government job? I said, no. What are you doing here? Why are you here? The educational system in India makes you look at Paris and Delhi and Zurich. What are you doing in this village? Is there something wrong with you you're not telling us? I said, no. I want to actually start a college only for the poor. What the poor thought was important would be reflected in the college. So then they gave me some very sound and profound advice. They said, please, don't bring anyone with a degree and qualification into your college. So it's the only college in India where if you should have a PhD or a master's, you're disqualified to come. You have to be a cop-out or a washout or a dropout to come to our college. You have to work with your hands. You have to have a dignity of labor. You have to show that you have a skill that you can offer to the community and provide a service to the community. So we started the Barefoot College and we redefined professionalism. Who is a professional? A professional is someone who has a combination of competence, confidence, and belief. A water diviner is a professional. A traditional midwife is a professional. A traditional bone setter is a professional. These are professionals all over the world. You'll find them in any inaccessible village around the world. And we thought that these people should come into mainstream and show that the knowledge and skills that they have is universal. It needs to be used, it needs to be applied, it needs to be shown to the world outside that these knowledge and skills are relevant even today. So the college works following the lifestyle and work style of Mahatma Gandhi. You eat on the floor, you sleep on the floor, you work on the floor. There are no contracts, no written contracts. You can stay with me for 20 years, go tomorrow. And no one can get more than $100 a month. You come for the money, you don't come to Barefoot College. You come for the work and the challenge, you come to the Barefoot College. That is where we want you to try crazy ideas. Whatever idea you have, come and try. Doesn't matter if you fail. Battered, bruised, you start again. It's the only college where the teacher is the learner and the learner is the teacher. And it's the only college where you don't give a certificate. You are certified by the community you serve. You don't need a paper to hang on the wall to show that you are an engineer. So when they said that, they said, well, show us what is possible. What are you doing? This is all mumbo jumbo if you can't show it on the ground. So we built the first Barefoot College in 1986. It was built by 12 barefoot architects who can't read and write. Built on $1.50 a square foot. 150 people lived there, worked there. They got the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in 2002. But then they suspected, they thought there was an architect behind it. I said, yes, they made the blueprints, but the barefoot architects actually constructed the college. We are the only ones who actually returned the award for $50,000 because they didn't believe us and we thought that they were actually casting aspersions on the barefoot architects of Telonia. I asked a forester, high-powered, paper-qualified expert. I said, what can you build in this place. He had one look at the soil and said, forget it, no way, nothing can work. No water, rocky soil. I was in a bit of a spot, and I said, okay, I'll go to the old man in the village and say, what should I grow in this pot? He looked quietly at me and said, you build this, you put this, and it'll work. This is what it looks like today. Went to the roof, and all the women said, clear out. The men should clear out because we don't want to share this technology with the men. This is waterproofing the roof. It is a bit of jaggery, a bit of urine, and a bit of other things I don't know, but it actually doesn't leak. Since 1986, it hasn't leaked. This technology, the women will not share with the men. It's the only college which is fully solar electrified. All the power comes from the sun. 45 kilowatts of panels on the roof, and everything works out of the sun for the next 25 years. So long as the sun shines, I have no problem with power. But the beauty is that it was installed by a priest, a Hindu priest who's only done 8 years of primary schooling. Never been to school, never been to college. He knows more about solar than anyone I know anywhere in the world. Guaranteed. Food, if you come to the Barefoot College, is solar cooked. But the people who fabricated that solar cooker are women. Illiterate women who actually fabricate the most sophisticated solar cooker. It's a parabolic Scheffler solar cooker. Unfortunately, they're almost half German. They're so precise. You'll never find Indian women so precise. Absolutely to the last inch, they can make that cooker. And we have 60 meals twice a day of solar cooking. We have a dentist. She's a grandmother, illiterate, who's a dentist. But we are collecting rainwater from the roofs. Very little water is wasted. All the roofs are connected underground to a 400,000 liter tank, and no water is wasted. If we have 4 years of drought, we still have water in the campus because we collect rainwater. 60% of children don't go to school because they have to look after animals, sheep, goats, domestic chores. So we thought of starting a school at night for the children. Because the night schools of Thilonia, over 75,000 children have gone through these night schools because it's for the convenience of the child, it's not for the convenience of the teacher. And what do we teach in these schools? Democracy, citizenship, how you should measure your land, what you should do if you're arrested, what you should do if your animal is sick. This is what we teach in the night schools. But all the schools are solar lit. Every 5 years, we have an election between 6 to 14-year-old children participate in a democratic. The Prime Minister is 12 years old. She looks after 20 goats in the morning, but she's Prime Minister in the evening. She has a cabinet, Minister for Education, Minister for Energy, Minister for Health, and they actually monitor and supervise 150 schools for 7,000 children. She got the World's Children's Prize 5 years ago, and she went to Sweden. First time ever going out of a village, never seen Sweden, wasn't dazzled at all by what was happening. And the Queen of Sweden, who's there, turned to me and said, can you ask this child where she got her confidence from? She's only 12 years old, and she's not dazzled by anything. And the girl who's on her left turned to me and looked at the Queen straight in the eye and said, please tell her I'm the Prime Minister. Where this percentage of illiteracy is the way we Joachim Chacha, who's 300 years old. He's my psychoanalyst, he's my teacher, he's my doctor, he's my teacher and the parent. The attendance must not drop.
Are you all enjoying this?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting the message?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Should we continue?
Yes, sir.
These puppets are made out of recycled World Bank reports. So this decentralized, demystified approach of solar electrifying villages, we've covered all over India, from Ladakh up to Bhutan. All solar electrified villages by people who have been trained. When we went to Ladakh and we asked this woman, this at minus 40, you have to come out of the roof because there's no place, it's all snowed up on both sides. And we asked this woman, what was the benefit you had from solar electricity? And she thought for a minute and said, it's the first time I can see my husband's face in winter. Went to Afghanistan. One lesson we learned in India was men are untrainable. Men are restless, men are ambitious, men are compulsively mobile, and they all want a certificate. All across the globe, you'll have this tendency of men wanting a certificate. Why? Because they want to leave the village and go to a city looking for a job. So we came up with a great solution: train grandmothers. What's the best way of communicating in the world today? Television? No. Telegraph? No. Telephone? No. Tell a woman. So we went to Afghanistan for the first time. And we picked 3 women and said, we want to take them to India. They said, impossible. They don't even go out of their room, then you want to take them to India. I said, I'll make a concession. I'll take the husbands along as well. So I took the husbands along. Of course, the women were much more intelligent than the men. In 6 months, how do we train these women? Sign language. You don't use the written word. You don't use the spoken word. You use sign language. And in 6 months, they can become solar engineers. They go back and solar electrify their own village. This woman went back and solar electrified the first village, set up a workshop. The first village ever to be solar electrified in Afghanistan were by the 3 women. This woman is an extraordinary grandmother, 55 years old, and she solar electrified 200 houses for me in Afghanistan, and they haven't collapsed. She actually went and spoke to an engineering department in Afghanistan and told the head of a department the difference between AC and DC. Didn't know. Those 3 women have trained 27 more women and solar electrified 100 villages in Afghanistan. We went to Africa and we did the same thing. All these women sitting in one table from 8, 9 countries, all chatting to each other, not understanding a word because they're all speaking the different language. But their body language is great. They're speaking to each other and actually becoming solar engineers. I went to Sierra Leone, and there was this minister driving down at the dead of night, comes across this village, comes back, goes into the village, says, what's the story? They said, these 2 grandmothers. Grandmothers? Minister couldn't believe what was happening. Where did they go? Went to India and back. Went straight to the president. He said, do you know there's a solar electrified village in Sierra Leone? He said, no. Half the cabinet went to see the grandmothers the next day. What's the story? So he summoned me and said, can you train me 150 grandmothers? I said, I can't, Mr. President, but they will. The grandmothers will. So he built me the first barefoot training center in Sierra Leone. And 150 grandmothers are being trained in Sierra Leone. Gambia. I went to select the grandmother in Gambia. Went to this village, I knew which woman I would like to take. The community got together and said, I'll take these 2 women. I said, no, I want to take this woman. They said, why? She doesn't know the language, you don't know her. I said, no, I like the body language, I like the way she speaks. Difficult husband, not possible. Call the husband. Husband came. Swaggering, politician, mobile in his hand. Not possible. Why not? The woman, look how beautiful she is. I said, yeah, she's very beautiful. What happens if she runs off with an Indian man? That was the biggest fear. I said, she'll be happy, she'll ring up in a mobile. She went like a grandmother and came back like a tiger. She walked out of the plane and spoke to the whole press as if she was a veteran. She handled the national press and she was a star. And when I went back 6 months later, I said, where's your husband? Oh, somewhere, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Success story. I'll just wind up by saying that I think you don't have to look for solutions outside. Look for solutions within and listen to people. They have the solutions in front of you. They're all over the world. Don't even worry. Don't listen to the World Bank. Listen to the people on the ground. They have all the solutions in the world. I'll end with a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. First, they ignore you. Then they laugh at you. Then they fight you. And then you win. Thank you.
So it was not only a TED talk to let you know what is the power of solar electrification, rather than how you people at this from this stage you can start thinking differently, and the conventional path and the world is very small in front of you. So there are enough opportunities for you being a part of JB University. So means you means the scope for you is immense, but the only thing is that you have to think different, and people can help you only if you want to help yourself. So let us I hope the message from the video is clear to you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then there are wind energy, hydropower, so there is nothing to discuss much, because means no, the time is less, but only will touch the important points. You must look at the advantage of hydropower and disadvantage. Nothing difficult, nothing to explain as such in this case. So alternative to micro hydropowers, the micro hydropowers or the small scale hydropower is a viable alternative where flowing water is available. So these things are eco-friendly, because unlike large scale hydropower, what happens in large scale hydropower, it doesn't means it attempt to submerge, means make a huge dam, and that has an ecological impact that sometimes submerge the nearby villages, ecosystem and other things. So there are always benefit to small scale hydropowers. Then hydrogen as fuel, fuel cells, the story of island world's first hydrogen economy. So the project, 1 minute. So of course, hydrogen is a source of energy, but there are problem related. There are also problem related to hydrogen. So firstly, it takes energy to produce hydrogen. Energy produced from a fuel cell is always less than that of energy used to produce hydrogen. Thus, hydrogen can only be thought as an energy carrier or means of storage useful in some applications. So it is not that economically viable. Secondly, if this energy comes from fossil fuel, there will be adverse environmental impact. So we must first find cost-effective way of producing hydrogen. So it may be solar, wind, or hydrogen. Any renewable energy. We have to look at the long-term scenario. We have to look at the cost effectiveness, and always sustainability of the things, means looking at both economy and ecological benefit of such type of energy. So are you using energy efficiently? That we have to check. Increase the efficiency of energy use will equivalent to finding free sources of energy. There is tremendous scope for increasing energy efficiency in all our activities. It may be a use of day-to-day in our day-to-day activities, starting from vehicles to home appliances and other things. The internal combustion engine that runs automobiles is another device that wastes 80% of the input energy. Then use of sports utility vehicle, and so cost effectiveness and low carbon emission, use of renewable energies. Like you can find that now the electric vehicles means are already in market. So of course we predict that maybe in couple of years it will be more advanced, cost effective, and maybe in future you will also get hybrid vehicles, means having solar panels installed in the vehicles for the charging whenever it is parked, or somewhere it is there, or as electric vehicles can be very rapidly charged through this electric charging points, and it can now, it says it at a stretch can go 300 kilometers at one charge, maybe within 200 to 300 kilometers, but so it is quite comfortable for city ride. Pricing is little high at present, but what we believe that government is also planning for giving subsidies on this type of vehicles, and there will be also improvements in recent years which will enable us to go for EVs, maybe in couple of years. Okay. So it's the every day there is a change. The technology is improving. So commercial viability is improving. Energy efficiency is there, and life cycle cost is also coming down. So there are different ways. Certification agencies. So you can always find means appliances. You'll find rating mentioned over there: 5-star rating, 3-star rating, 2-star rating. So that the more the star rating, the more the electric efficiency. So this is otherwise known as Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BE rating. So how can we save electricity? It is more important. for us to know, because these are the things we can practically use at home. Turn up the lights and fans when you leave the room, shut the personal computer, television set, set-top box, music system, etc. when you are not using that. Install automatic switch off device for areas like staircase, and you can use sensor in the water pumping system, so that whenever it is not required, automatically it will be stopped. So if you can afford, you install solar lighting system at office, at home premises. Apart from saving energy, it will give you light during the power breakdown also. So solar power is means you don't have to really depend on the grid for your power consumption. So if you use hot water, then install solar heater that will useful in your geyser. Use a solar cooker, buy energy efficiency appliances, iron a pile of cloth at a time instead of doing it one, because you know, so it takes some time for heating, then it cooling. So if you give it for pressing at a lot, then the wastage of energy in the form of heat will come down. So, and run a washing machine when it is fully loaded. So instead of that, we do have a habit of washing 2-3 clothes are there, then also we use the washing machine. But if it is full load, then obviously it will save energy it will save energy for us, and it will also save money. So avoid using kitchen machines every day. Grind spices and other things at once. Build your house, then follow the principles of ecological architecture, so that once when you make your house, you will find that if you do have proper ventilation, if you do have proper lighting system, then you means for example, you look at our university, many of the classroom, you will find that in the daytime itself you have to put on all the lights. So that is, if you look at ecological aesthetic and means at the ecological point of view, then you will find that that is not suitable nor sustainable, because at least in the daytime you should get proper ventilation and light, so that you don't have to use you can use less time electricity, means fans, then light and air condition. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So the next is how we can save in the in transportation. Minimize use of the automobile for your personal transport. Keep your vehicles tuned for low consumption of fuel. So we do have a specific range in between that. If we drive maybe within 40 to 60, in that speed the fuel consumption is better, 40 to 50. So keep your vehicle tuned with low consumption fuel. Avoid idling your vehicle at signals. So if you understand that here in the signal I will remain for 2-3 minutes, so better to switch off your vehicle. Use bicycle for going a small work you'll be doing. You can save energy at the time, at the same time it will be also a good practice for your health. So use public transport, join carpool. If 4 of your classmates are moving together, instead of taking means individual bike or car, you can go for a join carpool. Check full consumption data while buying new vehicle. Means fuel consumption data, if you look, then you can always means not only it will save the environment, at the same time it can also save your money. Okay, so avoid air travel if you can. Go by train instead, because air travel has a uh, means very severe impact because of the fuel that is being used in the uh, flight. So all these things can help us to reduce the energy consumption, and also to save the environment and our money in many ways. So Terry, the lighting a billion lives. Please go through the case study that is in your book. So lighting liter of light. This is a very interesting case study. Lighting the slum with zero energy. Show how millions of house is lighted by use of bottle bulbs. So you can read it. So this is also available in the YouTube, a liter of light official version. So you can watch this video. Just type it in Google. YouTube. So the story of Denmark. So many of the things I am showing you are borrowed from the book that is that I have means you have received the copy of that book. You'll find a lot of stuff are from that book itself. Can anybody answer this?
Sir, is it the second option?
So the fourth
Industrialized
option.
countries
The
consume
fourth option.
So the fourth option.
Fourth
So fourth
option.
option.
Fourth option.
food is easily available for poor people in developing countries.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Fourth options.
Okay. So let us see if it is fourth option or second option. So what is the answer? It is the second
The
option.
second one.
Industrialized countries consume a considerable part of total energy. Fuel is easily available for poor people in developing countries. How do you know that it is easily available? It is not easily available. If you go through your book, you will find that women head loaders. There is a case at the beginning. So how people are taking firewoods, and how they are putting a lot of effort, how in difficulties they are getting it. So if logically you think that fuel wood is, maybe you means absolutely you may think that fuel wood is easily available, but it is not. Okay, please go through your books and read. So which of the world's fastest growing form of energy use?
So transport.
Transportation.
Transportation.
So all of you have answered together. So how come I know that who has answered it first? Is it Atise, Apurva?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes. Who answered first? Who are the first three roll numbers who answered?
So
So I
62.
answered
Sir,
second.
29.
Yes. Yes, tell me the roll numbers.
So
Sir,
29.
29, then
62.
25.
62 and 25.
48.
48 is also here. Huh? So 29, 48, 62, 25. Is it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it is 25, then 48,
So 29 also.
29, then 48. Who else?
Sir,
62.
62. Yes.
Okay. So fine. So I'll send you a link for one survey. Yes. Did you say something? Okay. So I'll send you one survey form for some research work on this environmental science. So of course that after answering those after filling up that form, you take a screenshot and send me. So that is a part of that will be a part of your evaluation. Okay. So then what I was saying. So which of the following is
Sir, wind.
renewable?
Sir, wind.
Sir,
wind.
Wind, sir.
Wind, sir.
Wind.
Okay. So, but you people are so fast, I could not guess who is the first, who is the second, and who is the third. Okay. Let us go to the next chapter. So now I'll just start forest resources and we'll complete it in the next class along with the new unit. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So it is nothing like when it is the best time. So it's like always you will find that there is deforestation and there is problem related to the losing of green cover. So it make it a principle whenever you get a chance, maybe every year at least one tree you plant and you nurture it. So there is tremendous benefit of tree in the terms of ecological services. The amount of oxygen, the amount of carbon dioxide it purifies, the amount of rain and moisture and other things, fruits, flowers and other things we get, we cannot monetize just as it is. So it's really huge. So try and in this rainy season itself, you start at least planting 2 trees. Okay. So here we'll be discussing what is the state of forest resources, what are the products and services we receive from forest, how are forests being destroyed, and what are the attempts to conserve them. So World Commission for Forest and Sustainable Development, the main conclusion that was in 1999, WCTFS report, the world's forest declined 6 billion hectare in 8,000 years ago and 3.6 billion hectare in 1999. So 86 countries have 90 to 100% of their forest. So you can see that 56 countries are in such a pathetic condition that they have lost almost 90% of their forest cover. So over the last 2 decades of 20th century, 15 million of forests were lost annually, and those are largely in tropic areas. So logging is the very important factor. So whenever you, and you know who are the, why they are cutting the forest, because we are the user of the end products. Means if it may be the cot, sofa, or other means cupboards, so whatever you use, doors, windows, and other things we utilize to construct in our place. So for that reason, maybe legally or illegally, the trees are being chopped. Okay. So nowadays there are a lot of synthetic materials that is being used. So about 14 million hectare of tropical forest have been lost each year since 1980 due to conversion into cropland. So as we all know that population, there is a rapid increase in the population. So due to population growth, the crop production is important, and so many of the forest land is getting converted to cropland. So forest decline threatens the genetic diversity. So once the forest is lost, many varieties of flora, fauna that will lose their habitat, and once they are extinct, then there is no chance of revival of those species. So in developing countries alone, some around 45 billion US dollar per year is lost through poor forest management. So it is huge. So FAO Global Forest Resource Assessment. You can read it from the book. So let us find the important things. So UN State Forest Report. So the story of Wangari Maathai, Nobel Prize for Nobel War. The rate of deforestation in the world shows sign of decreasing, but it is still alarmingly high. So can anybody read this?
So can I?
Yes, please.
She started a movement that planted 30 million trees in 20 countries. She campaigned for women's rights and greater democracy in her country. She defied a corrupt regime, was vilified and forced to leave her country for some time, and was once even assaulted by the police. Wangari Maathai, the first woman in East Africa to get a PhD, was a professor at the Nairobi University in Kenya when she launched the Green Belt Movement GBM in 1977. Her objective was to empower the people and to show that they can choose to destroy or build the environment. GBM encouraged poor women to plant millions of trees, to combat deforestation, and to get in return enough fuel wood. The woman has set up 5,000 tree nurseries run by women and disabled persons. Seedlings are given free to groups and individuals. For every tree that survives for 3 months, the planter receives a small payment. By 1988, 40,000 people were planting trees, and in due courses, the movement spread to many other African countries. Wangari came into the limelight when she led a protest against the construction of a 62-story building in the middle of Freedom Park, Nairobi's most popular public space. Then the president, Daniel Arap Moi, labeled her and the GBM as subversive. Faced with intense persecution, she had to leave the country for a while. Her marriage broke up too.
Yes.
When Wangari returned to Kenya, she took up the cause of political prisoners. She criticized the president for allowing deforestation and displacing people. She stood so
Okay.
She stood solid and unbowed through all the persecution she suffered. The political climate changed in Kenya in 2002 when Mwai Kibaki came to power. Wangari became a member of parliament and also the assistant minister for environment. In October 2004, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
So you can see the effort of a Kenyan woman and his contributions to save forest. Prachi, what is your roll number? 62 or
65.
65? Thank you.
Welcome.
So you can find his lecture, means his lecture while getting the Nobel Prize. So that is very interesting, and even that will motivate you. So you find just YouTube Nobel lecture by Professor Wangari Maathai. Okay. So apart from your studies, means looking at small things and how people have changed the world with their effort, so that will motivate you to think beyond your limitations of studies and job. So industrial wood and fuel wood, non-wood products such as product services from forest, industrial wood and fuel wood, non-wood products such as food, mineral, fiber, honey, medicine and plants, all we get as a part of these services. Then ecosystem services are soil generation, soil and water conservation, then purification of air and water due to forest, nutrient recycling, maintenance of biodiversity, maintenance of flora, fauna, providing habitat for animals, mitigation of climate change, absorption of carbon. So forest work as a great place for carbon sequestration. So the amount of carbon that is emitted to the atmosphere in the form of burning of fossil fuel, industrial waste. So that carbon, we are fortunate enough that we are having plants, those who work day and night free of cost for us. They assimilate the carbon dioxide, they prepare food, and at the meantime the carbon is converted, and that is again in different process that move to the earth surface. So if we cut the plants, then the carbon dioxide amount in the atmosphere will go up, and that will lead to the greenhouse gas impact, and the temperature will go, it will increase. There will be all we all have seen the impact of this increasing temperature, the greenhouse gas impact, melting of ice caps, so and the impact as sea level rise and flood and drowning of islands and all these things. So you can understand that what are the importance of forest and trees. So it gives employment, contributes, it works, it is a place for recreation, it's a place for education, it's a place of scientific study for the flora and fauna, protection of natural and cultural heritage, then aesthetic pleasure we get, then spiritual solace. So destruction of forest are because of commercial logging. A road made for logging encourage the entry of invasive species, hunters, poachers. When there is a dense forest and roads are made near to this, then it will make accessible for the hunters, poachers, and means urban people to come there and disturb the wildlife. depletion of forest based on wildlife due to commercial harvesting, and trade-off of wild animals for meat in Africa, for tusk, for their skins, and many of the things. So always try not to buy animal products like fascinating things or perfume that is made up of wild animals. So that will, in indirect way, you will contribute to save those plants and animals. So construction of dam in the forest for hydropower also destroy the forest. So mini hydropower we were discussing in the last chapter is that's why important forest and their biodiversity get lost. So we'll close for today here. We'll meet in the next Monday. So next Monday we'll be discussing the next. We'll complete this chapter and we'll be discussing the next chapter. So already 8, almost 5 to 8 students have left. Okay, can you please all come live? Let me take a photograph, means a screenshot. Who all are present?